as Calla said, my milkshake brings the boys to the yard. It doesn't ask them to drive 3 hours north to the middle of nowhere.
Are you saying your milkshake doesn't bring the boys to Wisconsin? What up, folks? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Freedom Grooming. You know what I like about Freedom Grooming? Everything. Whether you're shaving your face or your head, the Flex Series electric razor is for you. It's uniquely designed to flex and contour to the curve of your face and head for a smoother, faster, and safer shave without the risk of nicks, cuts, irritation, or ingrown hairs. Freedom Grooming's products work anywhere on the body. They are targeted to the bald community. That's right, the bald and balding people. I recommend shaving your head. If you're starting to go bald, commit, dude. Aerodynamic, it's smooth, it's low maintenance, it's great. You can use soap on your head. You don't need shampoo or conditioner anymore. Body wash for everything. Being bald rules, and Freedom Grooming knows it. They're proudly supporting the hair-free customers and their journey to baldhood. Baldhood is actually written here. It's awesome. Get the smoothest shave of your life with the flexible blades contouring to the shape of your head for a baby smooth shave every time. The Flex Series electric shaver can cover 50% more hair in a single stroke compared to traditional razors. Expect shave times of 2 to 3 minutes for your whole head. You'll never cut yourself shaving again because the Flex Series Safeguard technology means no nicks, no ingrown hairs, and no problems. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower with or without shaving cream, wet or dry. I love it. So stop deli slicing your scalp with traditional razors. Try Freedom today or get it as a gift with your exclusive 20% off coupon by going to freedomgrooming.com/tire. That's freedomgrooming.com/tire. Delightful. I have been using it on my head, and it is an excellent, excellent product. I have not cut myself. Really like the Freedom Grooming stuff. It curves. Your head is curved. Mm-hmm. Why would you use a straight thing on a curved head? Just saying. We're also brought to you today in part by HelloFresh. Farm-free, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. You can choose for up to 55 weekly options with pre-portioned high-quality ingredients picked at peak ripeness. HelloFresh will deliver fresh quality produce from the farm to your door in less than a week so you can savor the flavors right at home. Skip the grocery store, spend more time soaking up that summer sun. HelloFresh is a one-stop shop for all of your mealtime needs with quick breakfast, lunches, snacks, desserts, and more. If you're going away this summer, update your delivery address. Have it brought to you where you are. Enjoy it at your vacation destination with just a click, or pause the plan, wait till you get home, restart it when you get home. It's foolproof. The recipes are step-by-step. Very easy to read. Those cards, those big color photograph recipe cards, nice big fonts. You don't have to go flipping through books or anything. Just throw that card out on the table. Boom! Meals will be ready in 30 minutes. This says 30 minutes or less. In my experience, it's 30 minutes or so. We're not splitting hairs here. I'm not saying that they're not honest. It's probably 30 minutes. Once you have all the ingredients laid out on the table and the oven or whatever is like already warm, it's probably 30 minutes from that point. But the point is, when I'm cooking from scratch at home, it's probably an hour. If I have to go to the grocery store, now we're talking an hour and a half, right? So it's much, much faster than your standard go to the grocery store and start a meal from scratch type of thing. The food is very tasty. It's great. I've kept a bunch of those recipe cards like I talked about to make them in quantity for people. Like if I'm having a party, like HelloFresh, I get the meals for 2, right, for me and my wife. But I could easily multiply that recipe by 4 or 6 if I was having a big party. Some of these dishes would really scale nicely. So go to HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16 and use code SmokingTire16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. A lot of words in there. HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16. That's how they know you came from us. Code SmokingTire16. That's how you save the money. 16 free meals and 3 free gifts is what you get. HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16. Code SmokingTire16. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Also brought to you in part today by our official ticket fighting sponsor. Off the Record is here. You get pulled over, you plead guilty. Here's what happens. You get fines, your insurance company finds out, your insurance goes up. You keep paying for that ticket over and over every time you get an insurance bill. It stinks. The process is awful, and it's not designed to keep you safe. It's designed to keep you economically shackled to the insurance company, the police, and the court system. Don't plead guilty, folks. Get Off the Record. Download the app. Have it ready on your phone. Use code TST10 on that Off the Record app, or go to offtherecord.com/TST the very second you get a ticket. And all you have to do is take a photo of the ticket. It uploads it to Off the Record. Off the Record matches you with an attorney in your area. They cover 97% of the drivers in the U.S. The attorney's qualified. They're going to fight that ticket. And if they don't get those points off your record, you don't pay. It's a money-back guarantee. Get those points off your record. Don't pay the court. Don't pay insurance companies more than you have to. It's all a scam, and you don't need to be involved in it. Offtherecord.com/TST or code TST10 on the Off the Record app. Save you 10% on any of Off the Record's already affordable legal services. All right, folks, on today's episode, Zach reviews the 911 Sport Classic. The two of us spent the morning driving the BMW 230i, and it is delightful. We've got a discussion on what your hands are actually supposed to be doing when you're using one of these hands-free systems, updates to my Lamborghini Countach, Ferrari 328, and Ford Mach-E, and we take your questions, including discussion of cars that we might like to see resto-modded by the manufacturer, and more on the Smoking Tire Podcast. Hello, everybody. Yes. Zach and I were on a mountain this morning, filming the BMW 230i, 230i.
Yes. 3 stands for the number of
3
liters, and if you removed a liter.
Yeah, 3 doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It means 300 Newton, 30 means 300 Newton meters of torque.
Yeah, but is it 300 though?
It's 295 pound-feet.
Right, well that conversion is different though.
But we're using Cadillac math. It has to be Cadillac math.
Oh, right.
Torque
like the
in
Escalade.
Newton meters in order to justify a number that people will think is the horsepower.
Right, that was the Cadillac 600, the Escalade.
The Escalade 600 that makes 465 horsepower.
Right. It has 3 doors you use frequently.
Yes.
The trunk and the doors.
Yes. Speaking of that Escalade, my column on Road and Track is up today. My hands-free editorial. Not a scientific test, an editorial based on my experience using all of the latest hands-free technologies and my hypothesis as to what those technologies are actually for versus what we are told they are for. We'll get to the 230 in a minute. Last episode, I talked about the Countach and some things that we'll need doing while it's up at Donnie's, and I read some choice quotes from an Aaron Robinson article about Countaches in Haggerty Magazine, and called the guy who's interviewed in the magazine who owns these particular Countaches.
Like, what am I in for?
Well, I had a few questions about, the specifics, the quotes I read about, the clunking in the suspension and stuff like that. And he has heard of Donnie. And he goes, who works in your car? And I go, have you heard of Donnie Calloway? And he goes, oh, yeah, I know that guy. I go, clarify? I know. And he goes, he's great, but you got to stay on him. I go, yeah, you definitely know Donnie. He goes, the Lambo Ferrari Savants are great, but they're not known for their pace. And I go, you definitely know Donnie. And I called Donnie. I was like, the guy says he knows you. He's like, I have no idea who that is.
I mean, Donnie's not Italian, but he's Italian, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's like, he's working on it, and then you call him a week later, and you're like, how's it going? He's like, I don't know, I'm in Paris.
Right.
Like,
drinking wine and having sex.
Yeah. Did you get that part in today? I don't know, I'm at the Chateau Marmont. That's like he'll vanish on some real Italian style vacations for a week. But anyway, this gentleman, his shop is called High Mountain Classics out in Fort Collins, Colorado. Victor is the dude's name. He was very nice on the phone. He was very helpful. He didn't want anything. He just offered advice. He offered he knew where to get certain parts that could be very expensive if you get them from the wrong place, and could be very affordable if you get them from the right place. So I passed the information along to Donnie. And we talked about when I turn the car, when I'm driving the car and I'm making a very, very tight turns at low speeds. Not like hairpins in the canyons. Like literally, I come to a stop at a 90-degree stop sign, and I'm making a right, like a tight 90-degree right turn, first gear. There's a little clunkiness there. It almost sounds like and feels like if you had a car with a welded diff.
Oh, okay.
Where it's a little gunk, gunk, gunk. Mm-hmm. It's not as bad as if the diff was welded. It's not like that clunky, but it doesn't feel like the kind of thing that what at the time was the most expensive car in the world should have been like. And so I asked him about that. I thought, miss the diff locking up, and it really shouldn't. It should be open there, but it's locking there. And he goes, no, that doesn't sound like a diff. It sounds like one of your CV joints is not good. But he said the good news is fixing a CV joint way cheaper than fixing a diff.
Yeah,
he said if you have to take because the diff is like kind of part of the like gearbox assembly. He's like, if you have to take that out, like, God help you.
Oh my God.
He said, but the CV, it's what you're describing sounds like a CV joint, much, much cheaper, not really a problem. He said, you could do it with like with the car just on a jack. He's like, you don't even have to put the car on a lift to that. And I was like, well, we're probably taking the engine out anyway. He's like, oh, well, then this will be like no big deal. So that's good. So shout out to Victor, High Mountain Classics. If you're in Colorado, you got a classic Lamborghini. That guy really seems like we had a nice little chat. He sounds like he knows his shit.
What does he have? He has 3?
He has 3 Countaches and then a bunch of other.
I wonder how many he's owned. I bet a lot.
All of his Countaches he's bought when they were like cheap. He's had these cars for a long time.
Oh, cool.
The article in the magazine is great about it. It's like a 10-pager. So that made me happy that like, okay, these problems are like, he's like, yep, this is what it sounds like. You've got completely original suspension, and it's that time, you know?
Yeah. All right. It's just something that has to be done.
And I watched the Harry's Garage video updates on his Countach. He's really getting in there with this dude from England, Ian Tyrrell. I don't know if that guy's related to the Tyrrell racing team. If he just has the same.
The 6-wheeled Tyrrell.
Yeah,
people?
I don't know if it's related at all. I didn't look into it, but like that dude seems like he knows what he's doing. And
didn't you say the transmission's out of the car and
the transmission's apart?
Yeah.
The heads are disassembled. I mean, they're really getting in there.
Full rebuild.
Yeah, I'm not sure Harry's car ever had the valve job that mine had, a few years ago, and I think it's probably the time.
Well, is the engine out of the car also?
Oh, yeah.
Can you do the valve job?
No.
Really?
Engine
you can't
out.
do it from the top? Okay.
No, engine out. Yeah,
wow.
The engine has to come out. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a whole fucking to-do.
Okay. That's a bummer.
Yeah, no.
Is it replacing all the valves, or is it like just
they have to be
them?
like sleeved or so. There's like a support structure for the valve itself that has to be replaced. Yeah, his bill is going to be enormous.
Yeah.
really, really enormous. And he had a whole lot of while you're in there. Do you think I got while you're in there? He was like, oh, while you're in there, some of these interior bits are kind of coming off, and he wants to there's a lot. He's got all new shocks and springs. Do you know the Countach has two coilovers in the rear?
No way.
It has 6 shocks.
Is that because of the weight of the engine?
No, it's because
It's like a
They
monster
solve
truck.
this problem now with the Aventador by having inboard cantilevered suspension,
Mm-hmm.
but back then it was to get the shock points mounted lower. Like, so there's like a drop link,
Okay.
and then the shock mounts on either side of the rear axle, whereas if you were to mount it to the top of the rear axle, it would just go up too high, and the whole car,
Oh, okay.
like the idea of a horizontal or cantilevered shock, like, didn't occur
Oh, wait,
to
so
them.
because there's this drop link, it drops to 2 points, and then there's
Right.
2 sets of...
Right.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny. They're like,
It's
well, we
funky.
need the mounting point here, and they're like, well, we can't put it there. I'm like, all right, well, let's just make
2
a tunnel.
Yeah, and apparently,
Or,
I didn't know this either, but the Ferrari Testarossa, same design. There's another car in Harry's video that he talks about from the period, Lancia 037, maybe? I think it might have been Lancia 037, or something like that, some kind of fucking homologated Group B car, had the same design with 6 coilovers total. So yeah. So if you're wondering why a Countach set of OEM coilovers is 50% more expensive than a regular car's, that's why. So there you go. So that's a little Countach update there. No problem. They haven't.
Cool.
He hasn't touched really anything yet. I told him to finish the Ferrari first. I said, don't do shit on the red car till the black car is back to me and driving. But he said, don't worry, I'm putting things back in the black car. We had peak out
Right.
has already happened.
all the while you're in there's have been discovered.
Right. Now he's
Everything was
sending me
out,
pictures of clean parts, re-cadmium plated parts.
which looks like flat gold to people that don't
Yeah,
know.
right. And so we got new brake. He laid out all the new brake parts, everything. So that now things are going back in.
Nice.
Once I said there was 2 very important words I had to say to Donnie. The quail. Once I said I'm going to the quail, he goes, okay, I'll get it done. You need to give him
and
a
your name and
target
like,
date.
and Donnie. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell people
Callaway Cars
who worked on this car.
Yeah.
Or I'll tell them why I'm not with that car. Mm-hmm. Callaway Cars couldn't get it done.
You don't want me driving a fucking press car going, well, I was going to bring my Ferrari, but Donnie.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the update. Also, I got a gift from a guy named Emmanuel. This is very kind. He sent me this. Look at this. Pico's Oasis Farah Senior Living. This is for Pico's bedroom. My 18-year-old cat pretty much never
That's cool.
leaves one of the guest rooms in my house. So he made a little sign for Pico's retirement community, which I think is very cute.
Nice
So,
font. Is
Shout
that a
out,
font
man.
that Hannah will like?
Yeah, she'll like that.
She's
font.
like a font nerd, right?
She's a font nerd.
Yeah.
If you God help you if you give her some fucking papyrus
Sans.
or Comic Sans,
Right.
she won't eat at a restaurant. If the menu is in Comic Sans or the sign out front is Comic Sans, she's not going to eat
Is that
there.
because that says something to her about the restaurant?
If you're not creative enough to come up with a sign or a menu that doesn't use that, you certainly cannot be trusted to prepare food in an okay way. You know what I mean? BMW 230.
Yeah,
We had a nice go in the canyon this morning. What an excellent car.
it is. It's a very nice car.
Fucking, I don't want to. I would say that it is shockingly good, except I'm not shocked, and here's why: because of the previous generation car. Although my favorite was the M2 for obvious reasons, my next favorite was not the 235 or 240. It was the 228 because it was so light feeling. It felt so light in the steering wheel. It felt so light on the road. And light is obviously a relative term. We're still talking, these things aren't 2,500 pounds.
Right, this is 35, 55, I think.
Right, which is not, it's light by the 2022 standards, with all the shit that's in our cars today.
Right.
But all the weight from the M240i X-Drive to this, it's 300 pounds lighter, and almost all of it comes out of the nose.
Yeah.
And you really can feel the difference when you're driving it.
Yeah, absolutely. The steering in the M240 X-Drive feels heavy, kind of like a GTR feels heavy, but without like the perfect nuance of all-wheel drive programming. And this feels more like a classical BMW, like the E30 or maybe a 2002 or just something like that, where it feels light in the front. The whole car feels like it weighs 3,000 pounds.
It feels like if you're going through a series of hairpins, it almost feels like if you wanted, you could like hockey stop it into hairpins. Like, you know how if you're skiing or snowboarding, it's like, shh, you steer with the back. You know, it's almost like that. Like you can turn it in, and if you're at the limit, it's balanced to oversteer and not balanced to push. You know, like, so you can load up the nose, turn it in, and almost kind of almost like you're skiing it. Through,
because of the 50-50 weight distribution, you can really send it where you want. And because this suspension isn't super rigid and oversprung, I think it also helps with that transfer. Like, it doesn't feel like it has too much sway bar, doesn't have too much grip or too much spring. It's just like it moves a little bit, but not too much. And the shock damping, I thought was great. On some of the bumps in the canyon, it settled after one little bump. And then over speed bumps in town, like, same thing. It doesn't pogo afterwards, and it's not overly soft. Like, it's just a really nice set of simple suspension.
Yeah. One day I'm going to figure out how to turn off a BMW.
Yeah, I wonder if it's still playing right now.
It might still be playing on the radio right now. Like, did I talk about...
We talked about it with the M5, I think.
No, but, like, I don't know if I was talking about it here or I was talking about it with somebody else, like at dinner the other night. But, like, parked it in my garage... hit the power button, but the electronics stay on. But then it stayed connected to my phone for like CarPlay. Like I'm upstairs in my kitchen and I'm still close enough to the car and it's like still connected to CarPlay.
Yeah. I mean, right now, like we parked it, we didn't lock it because people have responded. We know that if you hit lock, it will turn all that stuff off.
It'll also lock it.
Right. So you might not want to lock it because right now the car is parked downstairs. The key is 30 feet away. And it was still playing like an app or podcast or something.
Yeah,
like 10
your
minutes
podcast
later.
Keeps going. Now you get back in the, and I think in fairness, I think it turns off on its own after like 20 minutes. But like the other day, I went to a restaurant and sat down at a table, and I probably should have locked it there, but I didn't. But okay, so someone comes out and he goes, "Who's driving the red BMW?" And I go, "Me." "Why? Is it like blocking something?" He goes, "No, your car, it's on. All the gauges are on." And I go, "Oh, fuck." And I locked it and it all turned off. But at my own house, in my own garage, I don't lock my cars in my own garage because that causes more problems than it solves.
Right. I think most people don't.
Most people don't.
Oh, where are my sunglasses? Oh, where's my phone?
Yeah.
You know.
And now the car's fucking locked. Now I got to go back inside and get the key and whatever. But like, I just can't I cannot figure out how to turn the car off without locking it.
I'm curious to know why it does that. Like, if they think, well, what if you're sitting in the car, you turn it off, but you want to keep listening to a radio or show, but then can't they make the seat sensors interact with the stereo and the rest of the car to go, yes, there's a human in here. But if there's no human, just turn the stereo off.
Previous generations of the car, if you hit the button twice, it would turn off.
Yeah.
That doesn't work anymore.
And I couldn't find anything in the menu. Granted, I only looked for like 3 minutes, but I was looking in like the customize and this thing, and I couldn't find anything that you use to control the on-off stuff. Maybe it's in there. If it is, reply in the comments.
If we're just dumb and miss something, tell us. But like, we're not that stupid. We should be able to figure this out. And like, the car just stays on. It's annoying.
It's just it's a weird thing. Yeah. I genuinely wonder why they did this, because surely there was some meeting where they were like, our customers have said they like this, or this would be beneficial in some way. I just don't know what that is. Like, if I wanted to park somewhere, let's say, and keep blasting the stereo when I was out of the car for like a picnic, or I don't know, you're having like a tailgate party, then is that it? But isn't that what accessories
for? That's what accessory mode is for. Like, they have that too. If the car's off and you hit the start button without your foot on the brake, like, you can easily get to that mode. I don't need to be trained on how to get to that mode.
Right. So what problem did this solve? Yeah. Because it's created a new one.
It's weird. And this is not just this BMW. This is all current generation BMWs. Did someone in the chat have something to say?
No, someone said something about Ford. But otherwise, very good, well-rounded car. You know, very evenly built in terms of comfort and performance and handling, and I mean, it gets really good miles per gallon on the highway.
Yeah,
it's fairly quiet, but not too quiet. I mean, this is a good all-arounder.
Yeah, gearbox auto only, but super responsive to the paddles. Like, you have control over it. Traction control off means off. Really wide torque band. Peak torque 1500, peak power 6500. 5,000 RPM to work with is a ton. In the canyons, you just stick the thing in third, and you've got power all over the place for like the whole canyon, really. And and it's just very like tossable and really fun.
Yeah.
And it's not often you find a car that's like a really nice balance of luxury, but feels light and has good features and is fuel efficient, but also feels pretty fast. They've managed like. I thought like BMW kind of veering off of their original formula with most of their lineups, but like this car is like the 2-box, 2+2 longitudinal 4-cylinder rear wheel drive, like still got it.
Yeah. If you've been complaining about BMW's lineup lately, which most of us in this enthusiast sphere have, this is a little beam of light.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like I'd rather own this than like an M3. Like I actually think it's, in a lot of ways, it's more enjoyable to drive than the M3.
Well, yeah, I mean, those feel very serious. Like the regular M3 around town has like a decently cushy ride, but the speed is, it's surprising I'm saying this, but like it's so fast you can't use a lot of the pedal in a lot of places.
Yeah.
It's also a really big car. It's a big fucking car. This is more playful and it's smaller and easier to place.
Yeah, and it really it's 255 horsepower, 295 torque. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes really good use of it, and the car goes faster than those numbers suggest.
Yeah, this is like the new 330 Ci. It's like it's like that, for the E46 generation.
Yeah,
it's the right size.
It's sweet,
and it's kind of like at the base price of 37. I was like, ooh, a loaded like BRZ is a very, I think, actually good competitor to this in terms of performance and fun. But once you add the $11,000 in options we had, like now you're in kind of this rare territory of like it's pretty luxurious and it definitely looks upmarket inside from the BRZ, and it makes a lot more torque.
Yeah, I feel like for 48 grand, it's actually kind of a lot of car. I mean, it's got all the things you really would expect from something badged BMW. Mm-hmm. Seats are comfortable. If the materials are premium, the stereo's good. All that stuff is premium, and it's not like the engine. Yes, it's a 4-cylinder, but like it makes cool turbo sounds. It when you put it in the right mode, it stays in its power band. The gearbox feels premium. It doesn't feel like you're being like penalized. It doesn't feel like an econo box, but it happens to return excellent fuel economy.
Yeah,
very good car.
Yeah, good car. Well, speaking of test drives, because now the embargo's lifted, can we talk about Sport Classic briefly? Because
Zach fucked up.
I did fuck up.
150 people saw his review of the 911 Sport Classic a month too early.
Which is fine, because that's not a very big number.
He thought it was supposed to go up on June 19th instead of July 19th.
100% wrong.
No, but it's midnight Germany time. It's okay. Cause
these things happen to me.
That's the benefit of the embargoes being at midnight Germany time, is if you fuck up and accidentally break one,
no one sees it.
No one in Germany is awake to see it.
Very true. And very few people in America as well, because we caught it very quickly. But now everything's okay. So everyone's reviews are going up. But
I got that phone call from Porsche, and I was like, hey man, what's going on? I'm expecting him to be like, we got a new spec, this and this. Do you want to have a go? And he's like, are you with Zach? I'm like, oh boy, what did he do?
I had both dates in the calendar. I used the first one. That was the best part.
On the Sports Classic.
Sport Classic.
Dig in that parts bin, baby. Get me some parts from that bin.
It really is. It really is. It's for people listening, it's the turbo engine, not the Turbo S engine, but turbo engine, slightly detuned, 570 horsepower, but it has a 7-speed manual transmission that you get in like the GTS, rear-wheel drive only, and rear steer. Carbon ceramics are standard, and then it's got like some bespoke body panels. The roof and the hood are carbon, the ducktail's carbon, and then of course they remove the intakes on the rear fenders and move the intake back to just above the ducktail spoiler. So it looks a little bit different, but
that's one of those things that doesn't immediately look expensive, But
Right.
you go, oh, it probably cost them a lot of money to rework the fucking intakes.
They had to
on this.
use like their prototyping press,
Yeah.
and they basically use it until it would have broken, is what they said.
Oh, really? They
Yeah.
burned out the prototyping press?
I mean, those things aren't made to like actually just
I wonder
print
if
out
they were like,
10,000
this
things.
machine's on its way out. Let's find out how to fucking push it to the limit.
I mean, I don't know, maybe,
Stamp out
but I think it looks really nice without those intakes. And I like the turbo intakes; they look mean, but this is a very good-looking car.
It is.
I think it's a very
I
good
don't.
looking car.
The graphics.
Graphics, no,
They're
get rid-
optional, right?
Yeah, you can have them
You
removed.
get a no sans graphics.
Yeah.
And I read that the badging is actually gold plated.
Yeah.
24 karat gold plated.
Yeah.
That's important.
And it does look nice. Like it looks pretty good.
The gold badging on the Targa Heritage looks dope too.
Yeah, it's bright.
Gold. When it's real gold, like I have PVD gold watches that are like they're stainless steel, but they're plated, or they're like powder coated PVD. And to put that next to like gold, you go, oh shit. Well, that's why that's so expensive.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bob's for sending me this brick of gold this week. Shit's a fucking brick.
Bite into it, make sure it's real.
Yeah. So I feel like I could do a review of the Sport Classic without actually driving it. Could I? Is it exactly what you would expect by assembling those parts?
I mean, probably, yeah. It's it's a turbo engine, but it's not insanely fast because it doesn't have all-wheel drive, so it has to manage the traction. And then what the shifter feels like, which is like it's fine. It's not the most accurate shifter I've used. That was one of my only complaints with it. Like the shift knob felt like it cost $2, which
really?
Yes.
Huh.
The shift knob was very light plastic.
Huh.
And the shifting action, which you felt in the GTS, is like fine, but
the
not,
GTS I drove had the optional short throw shifter.
Oh, I don't think this had that.
Okay, it is an option, and it kind of splits the difference between the GT3 shifter, which is awesome, and the regular standard 7-speed. So maybe you can get that option on this without.
I don't know.
Okay.
And if someone knows, just comment down below.
Shifter
and don't
only
yell.
okay.
Shifter was fine. It was totally fine. The car is like a nice GT Grand Touring car, so it's not as stiffly sprung as the GT3, of course. But it also, even when you put PASM into like Sport Plus mode, it's not overly stiff. Because they said this is not a track car. This is not a car for track records and shit. It has like a lot of badass hardware. But even in that full stiff setting, like you could go over slightly bumpy roads and not shake your head loose. It's a really nice way to get around. It's just the price is bananas.
Right.
That's
Well,
what's hard
the
about
question
this car.
is, you can get a GTS with a manual gearbox and a lot of nice interior things.
Right.
And obviously this has more power. It's got a bunch more power than a GTS would have.
What's
But
curious,
it's very,
though,
very expensive.
is that this car and the GTS run the same 0 to 60 time because this weighs a little bit more. So, like, at the upper end, you're definitely going to notice the turbo power.
Yeah, the
And of
100
course,
to 200 run is going
to be insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll pull away really, really hard. But, like, this is one of those cars where you really have to say, what do you want out of your car? And the reason I was so conflicted is because if you want to show up and tell people you spent $300,000 because this costs $272, like, I don't know if this does it unless they're in the Porsche world.
Right.
Ferrari does it even if you buy a cheaper one, a used one. People see that and they think money. Same with Aston, same with a couple of those brands. But this, it's like, well, if you don't know what it is, you just see a 911 with a smaller wing and you might go, oh, it's not even a turbo.
Yeah.
Which of course it is. But it costs so much more than a GTS, which if you like engine sound, you'd rather have that engine probably because it makes more noise than the engine in this car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The GTS engine's louder?
A little bit louder. So
oh, really?
It's $100,000. Like you can do paint to sample on a GTS or some different interior choices. Like you can
you could go ham on a GTS for less money than this.
Right.
And objectively have more stuff.
Have a different car experience, but like have similar things. So that's what was a little bit strange about this car. Like,
does it have all the turbos suspension architecture? Like,
yeah.
So okay, because the turbo does like turn in a little sharper than the GTS. It's got like wider wheels in the front and stuff like that. So it does have higher limits than the GTS by a bit. Even I think if you remove the all-wheel drive.
Yeah, from what I know, this still I think has the McPherson front, same as the
right.
turbo.
It's not double wishbone.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not a
wishbone.
GT car.
No, as I said in the thing, this is a vegan suspension in the front.
That's funny.
I think the front wheels are slightly narrower than the turbo because it doesn't have the all-wheel drive weight. But like, I mean, it gets around corners so well. It feels so composed. Like it's so quick.
But it's the fastest are the most powerful manual transmission Porsche since the 997 GT2 RS.
Right.
Which was a pretty hairy car. If you turned all the systems off, that thing was pretty gnarly. Not as gnarly as I expected it to be when I drove it on track. I actually found it to be manageable, but it's a lot of power going to the rear wheels. Did this feel overwhelming or not?
No,
really?
but I didn't turn the systems off. We were on a really nice German B road, and like I could feel the rear wheels scramble, a little bit.
Like if you smash the throttle in the lower gears, did it want to break the tires?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
And I think if you turned everything off and you were on like a cold temp road, you would just light them up for sure. Out of a corner, absolutely. I mean, there's so much fucking torque and there's so much power. But what that did is it gave it a little bit more drama and kind of occasion, and reminded you like, yeah, this is a rear-wheel drive car. You got to pay a little bit of attention to it. And there's something about the turbo is an amazing vehicle. I mean, it is the cheapest Bugatti Veyron you can get. Like, it is phenomenal. But there's something that feels, one, heavy about it, and two, it just feels like it has such a focused purpose. Mm-hmm. And this is for like your sixth car. This is your Chris Craft boat. That's kind of what this is. It's just.
It reminds me of something Roof would build. Like Roof would take the narrow body car and put the turbo engine in it. And
right.
Put
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's kind of stepping in on Roof's territory a little bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the brakes are amazing. Like, if you drive it, you will enjoy driving it. And I know they're only selling 1,200, so I have no doubt they'll sell all of them.
Yeah,
it's
they're
a limited
already
edition
fucking
911.
sold.
Yeah. It was just, from an objective, fun to drive point of view, that's what I kind of wrestled with. And then also are people at the club or at the restaurant going to know how much money I spent? But maybe the people that buy this don't give a shit.
The people in the watch world, a Rolex Submariner, you can get one that's $10,000, call it. And there's another one that's almost identical, but in the depth ratings, the meters are before the feet.
Okay.
I mean, that's it.
Wow.
Everything else is the same, except on this particular one, the meters are first. They call it a meters first Submariner. That's the only difference. Think about how close you have to be to this watch to see, to tell the difference.
You have to have stolen it.
And it's triple the price for that.
3 times?
Yeah. Or like a Rolex Sea Dweller. There's one variant where it says Sea Dweller in red instead of in fucking white. Double, triple the price. So now
is it McPherson also, or is it
it's a double wishbone? Yeah, but like, it's not like, oh well, this is gold and that's tight. It's not.
Right.
You don't see the difference from across the street. You don't see the difference from across the table. You see the difference here. Mm-hmm. Someone has to tell you it's different. So that's the kind of fucking people that are buying something like this. It's what our friend Carl would call a lecturer's car. You have to explain to people. You don't have to explain to people why a Pagani Huayra BC costs $2 million. Someone looks at it and goes, yeah, I could see where the $2 million went.
Yeah,
but you go,
point.
This gray 911 that looks just like that gray 911 is triple the price, and then you get to lecture them on why it is different, all the little subtleties.
That's very true.
Rest in peace, Carl. I mean, so this is a lecturer's car.
And it is a stunning looking thing. Like the double bubble, there's a lot of subtle stuff. Like you said, Roof would do this, or we've seen some Siemens 911s where like the roof has changed a little bit, the hood's changed a little bit, and it feels lighter in the front than the turbo. It's just for the money. I don't know. It's hard.
We're not for the money anymore. Something like that. There is no for the money.
Yeah.
Here's what we can use our existing parts bin for. Make a couple little changes that do cost money.
Yep.
Those intakes cost money. Carbon roof costs money, but otherwise reassemble what we've got in a unique way. Attach it to our heritage somehow,
right?
And charge an unbelievable amount of money for it.
Yeah, but I
still
hope it
drives
leads
great,
to,
right? Still drives
absolutely,
great. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, because the bones are so good.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah,
but you could get right up close to that experience for probably half.
Yeah,
a manual GTS. In a nice color with sport exhaust,
and you can get the same interior, like the Pepita stuff, like in a GTS. I don't know. What's
the interior about?
Oh man, it looks so good.
My favorite interior was with the the Targa Heritage when it had the
corduroy.
The corduroy, dude. I love that corduroy. Ooh.
So this has this. I mean,
it's like a terracotta colored leather. It's like an orange, a saddle.
It's
orange.
more brown in person, but in photos and video, it's definitely looked more orange.
More like baseball glove color.
Baseball
glove color leather is the jam,
dude. And
that's
it's
fire.
Special leather, and it's very
keep
soft.
going through the photos. Can we get a better? Is there a better interior? There's one.
Go.
What's that about? Oh, so that's got a combination of houndstooth. There's a lot going on in that interior.
Yeah, but when
that's
you look
brown, black, and houndstooth. A lot going on there.
I think it works. When I looked in, I went, "Oh, that's real nice." I mean, it photographs nice.
Kind of wish that dashboard was brown to match the
The only thing I didn't like in the interior, the gauges are these green face.
Yeah, that's the old school.
Yeah,
the throwback.
I thought that leapt
the
out from the
Targa
other
Heritage
colors.
had that too. The throwback gauge cluster.
There's not much.
Oh, there's the seat. Let me see the seat there. I mean, the brown and the houndstooth is fun. I do like that, but I wish the uppers of the door and the dash were the same brown.
Oh, instead
of black. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wait, let me.
That's just a little.
Show the people.
They not? Do they not get to look? Fucking dropping the ball on this bitch.
Hey, I'm handling 3 things.
I know you're a very busy man over there.
Talk, listen, and DJ.
What's that? It looks
Go
good.
Back to the interior for people.
It does. I would probably, and I'm sure I could pay extra money to have that upper match the lower.
I think you can, because you could always go executive or exclusive manufacturer and have them do some things.
Right.
And these photos were for the piece written by Aaron Gold, who was on the thing with me, and he was my car and plane buddy for a while. So shout out to him. He was hilarious.
Did you talk about buses for 9 hours?
Only a little bit. We talked about a bunch of random ass things, but that was fun.
Oh, this was one where the flight was like a fucking disaster to get there, right? Wasn't it like horrible, the trip?
Yeah, a little bit. Whatever.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I had some delays. Wasn't that bad. The plane was nice.
When you got there, your cameras were still there?
Yes, my suitcase was 2 days late, so I smelled. Oh man, I did.
Well, that's okay. You're not shitting on Porsche or anything. It's like
no. Shout out to Luke from Porsche. He loaned me a shirt that someone else had loaned him, and it was big and had stains on it. I was like, hey man, everyone's sitting next to me at dinner. I will wear this shirt.
You weren't like, hey, can I go by the store tomorrow and maybe buy?
We had really early start times, and I mean, and I was like, I'll just
can't
do that.
Smell you through the video.
But the clothes showed up in time for the video.
Did they?
Thank God.
Nice.
But day one, I'm sorry, everybody.
Remember we had, I forget what it was. It was some piece of equipment. Maybe it was the hard case with tripods that showed up finally in time for us to leave where we were. And we just picked it back up at the airport on the way back out.
You have to buy cameras or something?
It was
something like
terrible.
that?
Yeah, it was awful.
Every now and then it goes wrong.
Yeah, no. And some of this shit is just, you can't always carry it on, man.
Right.
You got to choose. Am I going to carry my cameras on or am I going to carry my clothes on?
That's why I carry the cameras on.
Can only carry one thing.
Yeah.
Carrying the cameras was the right decision, as it turns out.
Absolutely, because when I landed, they were like, your bag is in Paris. And I was like, I'm not. I'm in Germany.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's excellent. So shout out to Porsche for flying Zach over to Germany for that. Update also after we talked about the Mach-E and Blue Cruise no funciona. I spoke with my dealer, Airport Marina Ford. Shout out to Airport Marina Ford. They're nice people. They're trying their best. They don't know. The Ford dealers are really struggling to service Mach-E's. Ford didn't really line up the service department preparation with the sale of these particular vehicles, and they're finally catching up. I've talked to everybody. I'm not taking credit. I contributed to the effort of fucking bitching enough, and things are. It doesn't hurt that Mike Levine and I use the same dealer.
Yeah,
Mike Levine from Ford. He's got a lot of pull up in the upstairs area, and so when I talk to him about what's going on at our local dealer, he fucking makes shit happen over there. And I hope that whatever the solutions are being spread out to the rest of the country, because they need to. It's like, I think I mentioned this before, but like, Tesla, they know how to service Teslas at a Tesla service center. They're not good at assembling cars and making them watertight and building cars that things don't fucking fall off yet. But when you take a Tesla to a Tesla service center, they are comfortable working on those vehicles. Whereas
we just bring it back to the assembly line and they fix the things that were wrong when it went
Whereas
out.
you bring a Mach-E to a Ford dealer, they don't have they're not really prepared yet to work on EVs. They're traditional techs, and so they're training specialists and whatnot. So anyway, I found out that there's a major update that needs to happen on the Mach-E in order for Blue Cruise to work. It has to, you download the Blue Cruise, that's an over-the-air, the downloading of Blue Cruise itself, and then to actually make it work, they have to update every other module in the car.
Whoa.
So the software update takes 2 days. That's why it can't be done over the air. The thing has to be plugged in to a terminal
Into a Raspberry Pi.
for 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a major thing. And so combined with, there's 2 open recalls, right? There's you probably don't even remember this, the glass roof. There's a recall where the adhesive for the glass roof could somehow fail and the roof could fly off.
That's bad.
Which is bad. I don't think Southern California, mild climates, is really the issue. I think it's in the very cold climates where it could be more of an issue, but my car is one of the VINs affected. So they were kind of like, yeah, no rush whenever it's convenient, but that takes 8 days.
Well, it's like a free Landau at some point, right?
Yeah,
Just-
cars. I was
rollback, son.
I was hoping that like maybe it would happen. Maybe it
my
would just
God.
come off and like I would just get a video out of it.
Yeah,
maybe.
but the accident it would cause behind you.
Dude, but imagine the Mach-E convertible would be fire. It would be like a Murano Cross Cabriolet. I'd roll around
That's
Hollywood.
terrible. That's all terrible. And you'd have to wear hats all the time.
It'd be
because of the sun.
La Violette, the Longiolet.
Yeah, the
What's
Longiolet.
La Violette? Well, that's something else.
sounds
What
like
is that?
I don't know. Lavar is wash in Spanish.
No, I know, but like I can't remember what that word. But Langiolet.
Langiolet, yeah.
What's La Violette? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna find out the hard way that that's something terrible.
Right.
So there's that takes 8 days at the body shop, right? And then 2 days for this Blue Cruise update. And then they have the thermal management update, which was why there was a stop sale on the Mach-E
Right.
because of this issue, this thermal management something or something. They're doing all of this shit at once. So I'm going to Scotland at the end of August, and I'm going to leave them the car for the 10 days I'm gone.
Wow.
The whole time they're just going to have it.
And it will be done maybe
in theory when I get back. In theory, I drop it off. And
Well,
I pick
8 days for roof, 2 days for software, 10. Okay, wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
every lot.
Wow.
If I wasn't like a person who travels and could go without the car for 10 days,
Yeah.
I would be annoyed. That's
Yeah.
awfully inconvenient.
Taking the roof off is quite a thing.
Yeah, it's a bitch.
Yeah.
It's a bitch.
I just
And
saw
apparently they told me originally it was going to be 2 weeks, and then they said they got it down to 8 days.
Cool.
So it's whatever they have them streamlined it somewhat, but it's still like it's a bitch.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. Okay. Well, good. But then it'll be up to snuff.
Yeah.
Then your Blue Cruise will work the way it was intended.
In theory, the Blue Cruise will work the way it's intended, so I can text and drive, right? As my article.
Someone said in 2 days, are they bouncing the signal off the Voyager probe?
Dude, you know these.
What computer are they using?
There was a major update 5 or 6 months ago that I did that was a whole fucking day, and I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, yeah, the car is literally plugged into a terminal for the full day. Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of computers in that thing. They all need to be updated. Like I don't but that's why it can't be done over the air, because
Right.
it's such a big update that you just, it needs a hard connection.
They're just running it through a 28.8 modem cable, like a telephone or something like that.
Probably.
Like the McLaren F1.
Yeah, what if it's 2 days, but the dealer just has like a super shitty internet connection? Like, yo, can you get some Google
That'd
Fiber?
be very funny. I would expect they have a really good
Yeah,
internet,
like,
but
yo,
you never know.
lug that terminal down here at WCCS. We've got the fucking super internet.
That'd be cool. If someone's listening that knows why the car computer would process that so slowly, I'm curious. Like, because everything is fast
I don't know if
these
it's
days.
the car computer
And-
processes slowly or the connection or I don't know.
Well, cars have all the fucking GPU cards these days.
Yeah.
Them and miners. So, crypto miners, not miners.
Oh.
So shouldn't they be fast? Shouldn't they be able to process this shit quickly? I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe it's just a huge amount of data.
I think
200
it
gigs
could
or
be an
something.
enormous amount of data. Yeah.
All right.
I don't
Cool.
know. I'll try to get, for next show, I'll try to get more information about why it takes so
Yeah, just
long.
ask how much data it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at least someone else DM'd me, and apparently a lot of vehicles that are not as connected as the Mach-E, like new F-150s with because it's more than just like the Lightning. Like modern gas-powered Fords can have Blue Cruise. Like it doesn't need to be an EV. It's just like the high end, like the F-150 Platinums and stuff like that can also have Blue Cruise. And so a lot of those cars got an over-the-air update for Blue Cruise, but they also need this update too.
Wow.
And so people were like, yeah, I experienced the same thing that you did, where it works, but it won't allow me to actually take my hands off the wheel. So if you want to read about taking your hands off the wheel, go to roadandtrack.com and check out my latest column. It was inspired by a tweet I sent after us driving the F-150 Lightning in Colorado. I drove it with Blue Cruise for half an hour, and I went, this is clearly for texting. What else would it be for?
Right. We're like, what do you do if you just sit there? It's something we've all thought about. Like, the hard part about autonomous cars, whatever you want to call them, is you're supposed to be vigilant and ready, but don't do anything yet.
Yeah.
So you just sit there like you're at a bus station before phones were invented, and you just stare at something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like being at. The one time I went to church in Italy, I sat in a very uncomfortable pew and stared forward. Like, that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
You're just waiting.
You don't have to drive, but you can't do anything else.
Right.
Which you might as well just drive.
Might as well just take a train at that point.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Well,
You're looking out the window.
Like, I kind of get that in order to that once these incremental technologies are safe enough, that you should allow the public access to them under certain controlled circumstances. Like, I get that. I just philosophically wonder, why are we spending all of this money making private cars drive themselves? Because what else are you supposed to do?
Right.
Like, we already have a problem of distracted driving. Does this do anything but enable us to be slightly safer while continuing our distracted driving?
Right. Well, does it save us from ourselves? Because if we already have a distracted driving problem, and they've tried to have these PSAs and these, whatever campaigns saying don't do this, and people are continuing to do it because phone addiction, boredom in traffic, whatever. It's like, all right, humans are doing this. And if the end goal is to have cars that drive themselves so people can do whatever they want in the car at that time, then this stepping stone kind of like allows us to be our flawed selves now and is also R&D for where we want to be in the future.
Yeah, except you're still responsible for what the car does while you're there.
Yeah.
So, there was a study that came out that I quote in the article. If you scroll down to the bottom of the article, I want to get the exact numbers right. IIHS did a study of 1,000 drivers that are excited to use. Here we go. Go second to last paragraph. They polled 1,010 drivers about their feelings related to partial autonomy and hands-free capability. Okay, 80% of drivers want their vehicle to have lane centering, which is weird to me. Like, I never thought of lane centering as being a difficult task. Maybe
aren't you special?
Maybe there's really something I'm missing. I mean, you could tell me, if I'm missing something, if there's a real problem out there of drivers that are unable to keep their car in a lane.
I'm on a channel, Are You Garbage? Big Matty hand-eye coordination over here. Oh.
Matty hand-eye.
Right.
But that to me is solving a problem that could be solved in other ways. Like, if you can't keep a car in a lane, we have a real big fucking problem.
I think people are really bad at things and they want someone else to solve their problem.
I suppose.
This is a very common thing.
27% of the people who responded want to be able to drive at least some of the time hands-free. Okay? So almost a third, between a quarter and a third of respondents to this survey would like hands-free capability. And 92% of those people, okay, so of the 27% of people who want to be able to drive hands-free, 92% of those people are either just as likely, somewhat more likely, or much more likely to do non-driving related activities while using that hands-free thing. So of the people who want hands-free, virtually all of them want hands-free so that they can do non-driving shit.
Right.
This is even once they have been informed of the dangers of it. They still in this study indicated their intent to misuse the technology for non-driving related things.
Does not surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either, but it's, there it is. So, like, let's just admit that that's what this is for. Like, let's not be like, oh, this is going to save lives. Like, no, it's...
I mean, I would bet that a lot of the ADAS systems that exist have prevented things like the auto braking and stuff like...
I'm not talking about auto braking. I'm talking about hands-free.
You're just talking about straight up hands-free.
Hands-free. That's what I'm talking about.
I guess...
The uncrashable car is something I can get behind. If your car is always watching, you're driving, and the shit's about to go down, and your car knows how to attempt to avoid that situation, whether it's auto emergency braking, whether it's those little vibraty things in the seat like Cadillac has when you're the cross traffic alert. I like that. Yeah, little things. It's going to prevent, cameras that will help you see in blind spots, or the blind spot monitors on the mirrors, like passive technologies that are watching when you are doing the task of driving and don't have eyes everywhere all the time. I am 100% behind that. I'm talking about hands-free.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
What do I do with my hands? I'm putting them right here, resting them on my thighs, staring straight ahead, waiting for something to go wrong.
There's like a lot of winking that happens with the sails.
Like, that's the whole thing.
And this way, you can just take your hands off the wheel and rest.
Just be a
wink.
I will say that when
glitch.
I've on trips, because I'm now getting older and a little more broken. When I take a very long trip, like there's days where I have to drive 10, 12 hours on the highway. Yes, my hands can get tired after something like that. And so if I had a hands-free system and I was doing a very long drive on a very straight road, these open freeways, I do kind of get it. Like, I might rest my hands a bit, but I just don't think that's what this is for.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you're 3 hours on a straight highway, and all you're doing is staring out the thing, listening to something, and then if technology can go, hey, do you want to read the book that you want to read when you get to where you're going, and like you're driving across Kansas, it's very straight, and nothing's going to happen probably. I get the urge. I do.
Yeah. So anyway, go read my article at roadandtrack.com.
Because you know what I feel like when you're driving on a really boring road like that? I feel like you're a security guard at a place no one wants to rob. And it's like, no, you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
Can't read a book, can't read a comic book. You just got to stare out this window. Like,
remember that episode
here?
of Seinfeld where he goes, he should have a chair.
Yeah,
and he gets a security guard a chair, and what happens? The security guard's asleep when the place gets robbed.
That's
like that is
analogy.
literally that you just described. Like what happens? Like high-end department store, security guard is alert, standing, ready, but then he gets him the chair, and the fucking guy's asleep, and the place gets robbed.
Right,
like.
The car's the thing that can get robbed. I was thinking
Costanza knew this was going to happen.
I was thinking cardboard factory. Like no one's coming in here. No one cares. Like that's the Kansas drive for me.
Yeah, totally. But here we are with this technology. I'm sure there are people will argue. I'm sure one of these companies' representative will call me angry that this is what I'm implying. But this is the vibe I get from using these systems.
And
what else am I supposed to do?
When we're in traffic, look around. The number of people reading their phone, doing other things, it's really high.
Yeah.
That's what people want to do.
And in fairness to Ford, when I did pick up my phone and play with it while using Blue Cruise, the DMS activated and told me to put my hands back on the wheel within about 20 seconds. When I used GM Super Cruise, I pretended to play with my phone. Now maybe
you just mime it like this.
Yeah, and I was looking over here, and I wanted to like really look. I tried to act like I was looking at my phone, because once I realized that you really shouldn't be looking at your phone, I made a conscious effort. Like I'm a fucking professional doing a story. Don't look at your goddamn phone. Like I had to tell myself that a whole bunch of times. If I was using this thing on the same road every day, going to work and back, I'd be on my phone by day 3, like the fucking whole time. And the Super Cruise did not intervene. Like it let me look at my phone for over 60 seconds, and then I put it down and I went, wow, that's that's a long time of looking at my phone without this camera intervening.
So did you have your head tilted towards the phone?
I kept looking over and doing this. Now, my phone was connected to CarPlay, so maybe the car knew that I wasn't actually playing with my phone.
That would be very funny.
If, you know, I don't know if I don't think there's a connection there. I think the DMS system is separate, and I don't think it can tell the difference. Someone tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it can tell the difference between pretending to play with your phone and actually playing with your phone.
No, probably not.
But it did not intervene. So
yeah, I mean that's what it's watching for.
Yeah, I've been told that it's watching for your eyes being on the road,
right?
You know, and I was doing this, and it did not intervene.
Which is also probably partly a liability thing for the OEMs. They need to make sure that they are watching you, and that if you take your eyes off the road, they go, "Hey, we can see that."
Yeah.
And if you keep doing it and crash, it's not their problem.
Yeah.
But also because people are looking at their phone or switching seats to have sex or what other.
Yeah.
You know, that's some of the dumber things they've done.
Yeah. So, anything from the Patreon today?
Many.
Anything in the news? Anything else worth talking about?
V8 Raptor thing. We haven't
V8
driven yet.
Raptor. I've already talked to Mr. Levine about V8 Raptor. He says end of the year.
Nice.
We will be driving. We can drive it at the end of the year.
This was maybe not really a story. This was a kid who I read into this, but it was like it wasn't Tesla's autopilot that failed. It was him going way too fast through a corner and he crashed.
Well, it seems like that's another way to die. Yeah. Oh, the NASCAR race in the streets of Chicago.
But what's interesting is they pulled out of Road America, so they're not going to race at that track anymore, which is an awesome road course.
It is.
I mean, holy crap for NASCARs. So maybe I kept this up because I thought maybe this is indicative of, like we talked about with F1 in Miami, the street circuits bring in more people because it's more accessible.
A new kind of people.
New market, new spectators, new fans.
Yeah.
And so NASCAR has been having a big problem with fewer and fewer viewers every year. So if you run a street circuit in Chicago, you know.
Well, Road America is an amazing track if you're driving it. As a spectator, could go either way.
Yeah.
Road courses are already not NASCAR's, kind of forte.
True.
I mean, it's not their core, I should just say.
I agree.
Especially when it comes to spectators. And I love Road America. It's one of my favorite racetracks. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere.
It is.
And so I think having tracks that are in the middle of, I think you got to go to the audience.
Yeah.
Like they realized in F1, eliminating some tracks that are out in remote areas and doing more urban street circuits, you attract a younger audience, you attract a more cosmopolitan audience, you get people who have never watched a NASCAR race before and might use that to get into the sport. And you do it just by going to where they are.
Right.
I mean, if you were not that into NASCAR and you're from Chicago and someone goes, hey, you want to drive 3 hours to the middle of Wisconsin with me to watch this race? You'd be like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to devote a whole weekend to that. Whereas, hey, you want to walk 10 blocks over here to this street circuit?
This is a swing by.
Yeah.
This is hey, you want to pop in? You can pop in to the NASCAR event. You might not get a ticket, but you could. Yeah. You could probably find a bridge and watch a little bit of it and listen to it and get intrigued by it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. If you go to where the people are, I think that's a winning strategy.
It's the opposite of the Field of Dreams.
Right. The experts I've seen on Twitter are not impressed with the course layout. They said the course itself is disappointing, but I mean, I think the course is secondary. They're probably not the ones driving it anyway.
Very good point. I mean, street circuits are hard to build. It's hard to build one that's good for the cars, the drivers.
Yeah, Chicago ain't Monaco. It's like pretty flat. It's unless you're talking about doing that fucking lower whacker drive or whatever. If they're doing like Starlight Expressing it and going, they've got the upper and lower. In the Batman movie, where the trucks go down below and they go.
Oh, right.
That's Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. Where you have the upper and the lower. Yeah.
But it's a grid. I mean, there's a lot of grid.
Yeah. Where can you get a map of the track? Is it on the? Was it on the news article?
I don't know. Give me a second.
I saw the basic map. It didn't look all that interesting. It looked like, let's see, turn-by-turn break. There we go. NASCAR in Chicago. Course map. Keep going down. Let's see if there's a course map. Oh, here it is. That was it. It looks like many 90-degree corners. Can we zoom in on that? Will that get bigger? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it looks like imagine a figure eight made of squares.
Yes, 100%.
Like, basically, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 90-degree corners. Sort of a chicane, a Le Mans style bus
chicane.
stop at the south end of it.
And you got a kink at the north end on turn 3.
Yeah.
So high speed there.
Not particularly interesting, although it does go for a section along Lakeshore Drive, so you've got it up against the water there.
I mean, that's the scenic shot. That's the helicopter scenic shot for sure.
Totally. And those are railroad tracks, right? It crosses railroad tracks in a couple places.
Yeah.
So there's bridges.
That'd be cool.
But it's like two rectangles that are connected, more or less.
Yeah, if you want to just look up proposed course layout for NASCAR, or it's like South Lakeshore Drive and East Balbo Drive. That's kind of the intersection area. It's around all these baseball fields and stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of right angles, basically.
It is. But just by being in the city, it will attract a new audience that I think will probably find it interesting.
Yeah, as Callis said, my milkshake brings the boys to the yard. It doesn't ask them to drive 3 hours north to the middle of nowhere.
Are you saying your milkshake doesn't bring the boys to Wisconsin?
I mean, that track, that is an awesome track, but
that's fucking
it's far.
funny. Oh, that's fucking good. Let's go to the Patreon. Of course, if you want to get in the game, patreon.com/thesmokingtirepodcast. You can get ad-free experience. You can get the podcast the day it comes out, not have to wait till Tuesday, Thursday.
Yep.
You can ask us questions on the show, and you get an extra show every month. The Pro Driver Show, 9 shows a month for you folks. Thank you to all our patrons. We appreciate it. Miguel says, talking about the C8 Corvette with my friend who is in his 60s. He had no idea what I was talking about. He comes to find the C designation referring to which generation of Corvette was lost on him. He kept telling me the split window is the best Corvette. It seems that older people are removing themselves more and more from Corvettes. Do you think the stereotype still applies that a Corvette driver equals midlife crisis? I mean, I have to say that anecdotally, the demographic of people who are buying C8s is younger than you would stereotype. At least in Los Angeles. That's where if you go to Fort Lauderdale, I bet you find a lot of Hawaiian shirts. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the sales are, but I could see that it looks more exotic than ever, and it's still affordable. So I could see how you would grab someone who wants a Lambo, but they don't have Lambo money. Then they go, all right, cool. This thing looks like an angular Ferrari. It's got, get a spider roof and stuff. I could see people going younger. I think this example, I think your friend is just not that much of.
Yeah. He's just not the generation, not the current car enthusiast generation. That
sounds like a they don't make them like they used to kind of guy.
Right.
And the chassis codes, whether it's Porsches or Corvettes or BMW, enthusiasts know that kind of stuff.
Right.
If you were talking about the new mid-engine Corvette, he would probably know what you were talking about.
Right.
It's us nerds use chassis codes to help us abbreviate the generation of car that we're talking about. Casual folks don't use chassis codes.
Which is funny because you could say 8th gen or you could say something else. But but yes, I agree. And I don't know Volvo chassis codes. Someone else might, but there's only so much room in the brain.
Adam was responding to Miguel there. Model codes are enthusiast-only territory, and to most people, they don't mean anything. I think Adam's right there. JD recently drove my parents' 2020 Mercedes C63 S Coupe with 8,000 miles on it and had more rattles than a can of spray paint. This is not the first time I've experienced this in a modern Benz. Well, before you accuse a car of rattling, especially a luxury car, was everything taken out of it?
Very good question.
I mean, a lot of times, like so many times, if I get in a car and there's rattles, it's shit in the car. It's not the car.
Yeah.
Like, it could be change in the armrest or a pen or you really got to clean the car out. It's not always something you've thought of. Clean clean out the glove box, clean out the armrest, clean out the cup holders, the door pockets, the trunk, and then go take it for a drive.
This is me like every 4 days. I
Yeah.
thought my speaker was blown, but I had like a dog poop bag, empty of course, like in the door card.
Yeah.
And it was just going. That's it.
Yeah.
There's just stuff in the car.
I'm not saying that that your parents' Mercedes doesn't necessarily rattle. It might have a rattle in it. And if it does, it's probably under warranty, and you could probably go to the dealer and they'll figure out what it is and fix it.
8,000 miles, definitely.
But it's not been my experience that new Mercedes have rattles in them. That's not in my experience. Mercedes are built pretty well, but it has been my experience to falsely blame rattles on the car when it was really just shit in the car.
Yeah, I think we are in a weird place where we're mostly exposed to brand new press cars. We don't often see, 3-year-old cars even that have 40,000 miles on them. We just don't get exposed to them.
You know where it happens? My parents' cars. When I go to Connecticut, I drive my parents' cars, my dad's Cayenne, my mom's Q5, and there's something rattling, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it's always just some shit that they've got in there.
Yeah.
It's just stuff in the car. So I would check that first. Travis Walker has a 2019 Camaro SS daily driver, and the new Z has piqued my interest and looks interesting. Would the new Z be enough change in experience and fun to make it worth switching for a new daily driver? Definitely daily-able, the new Z, if you, A, don't need the back seat in your Camaro, B, if you're under 6 feet tall. If you're over 6 feet tall, you may find it a little small. In terms of both legroom and headroom, for a daily driver. If you're under 6 feet tall, it's probably fine. It is a nice car. I have a video review of it. You can go check that out and see what I think of it at length. 2019, your Camaro's not that old. So as Zach said on the last show, let's not roll ourselves into a bunch of additional debt to get one. It's probably not worth worsening your financial situation.
Because the SS is a really good car.
Yeah.
I mean, that handles well. They're fun. They feel lighter than they are. I mean, that is a great chassis. So yeah, don't go putting yourself into like $10,000 more debt just for that. Because the experience will be different. I mean, now you're talking about a turbocharged car, so the power delivery is going to be different. Feels a little bit smaller than the Camaro, I imagine. So
it definitely feels smaller than the Camaro.
It'll feel like a different experience, but still rear-wheel drive and. So
it's a nice car,
yeah.
and the aftermarket will come to you once cars start hitting the streets. I think SEMA this year will probably be the year of the Z, and it would be a different experience, but just I wouldn't upset your financial situation to make that change. And I also would make sure that you fit in the car physically.
Yes.
Before you do it. Anonymity says Toyota's flagship, the Crown, seems to be following Ford and the Mustang model shift spread. How successful can they be? The Crown thing is very interesting to me because it seems they've come up with a crossover sedan.
Yeah.
And in other international markets, here's what we've learned. We've learned that the Cross Tour was correct. The Honda Cross Tour was like the Pontiac Aztek, where it was the right formula, but 3 years too early.
True, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was a coupe SUV.
Right.
It was crossover.
Yeah, and so this new Toyota Crown is basically a sedan body on a crossover, right? They've gone back. You know how like coupes were turned into sedans and then turned back into coupes. You know what I mean? Like at BMW and Mercedes. And now Toyota has built they turned sedans into crossovers and now turned the crossovers back into sedans.
Right. It's so weird. I mean, I guess if you like the crossover ride and hip point, but you want a locking trunk, then here you go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess is that who it's for? It's for people who want a locking trunk, but they can't use one of those cargo covers. No, you must not use a cargo cover in your SUV.
Right.
I don't really get it, and I think in other markets there are other Crowns. So the Crown is really 3 different cars. The U.S., it seems, is only getting the this sedan thing, whereas there's a proper crossover one with like a hatchback for other markets that I think actually looks better.
Yeah, I don't get it. So I'm on roadandtrack.com, and they have a quote from president of marketing for Toyota. They saw an opportunity for this type of vehicle. We know there are younger buyers, let's say a Gen X or an older millennial, who is not interested in a sedan, but are looking for something different. And so this is what they came up with.
Yeah, I mean, scroll up. Let's see that picture. I mean, it looks like the Honda Cross Tour model. This is an Accord Cross Tour. It's not really a sedan. It's somewhere between a sedan and a crossover on crossover style big rims.
It looks like it splits the difference between a sedan and the X6 coupe.
Yeah,
the crossover coupes.
Yeah. And I suppose the Mustang Mach-E does a similar thing, although I think it's a little more crossover-y.
Yeah, it's got a taller greenhouse.
Taller greenhouse. I think it looks lower than it is because of what they've done with the black roof, which is
100%.
Incredibly smart design by the team on that one. Is that Castriota?
Yeah, it was.
Do Mach-E?
I think it was.
He did, right?
I think he told us about it.
Didn't he tell us that he did?
He's like, this is the idea I had.
I think he might have done Mach-E, but I think that he did, right?
Chief designer.
Yeah. God, what a fucking smart guy he is. We got to get him back on the show. He was great.
Yeah.
And Americans love big wheels. We love our big rims. You know, we love a taller ride. And so here's what I respect, that they're trying something. I do respect that they are trying a thing. Will it work? I don't really know, but they're definitely trying a thing. And so, take a swing at it.
I mean, there were big swings made with the crossover, and look, it worked really well. Yeah. So, if they can try a new invention, and if it hits well, then they sell a gazillion of them.
Yeah.
So
my aunt and uncle came to visit us from Detroit. They live in Michigan. They're retired. They were both auto industry executives. Uncle worked at GM. Aunt worked at Ford. And they've had since new a Accord Cross Tour, and they were like, when we saw this thing, we just knew that there was something about it that was way ahead of its time.
Wow.
And they bought it new. It's got like 120,000 miles on it now, and they love the shit out of this thing. And I just saw them, and we always talk about industry stuff, and they were like, see, it's all catching up to this, now, 10 years later.
Yeah.
Or 12 years later, whatever it was. So that's pretty much what I see being with the Crown.
We'll see. I think it's a very weird looking vehicle. I think this color scheme that they picked for the launch, maybe it's like black hood, the rest of the car's red, plastic fender liners. I mean, there's a lot going on. Maybe if it was all one solid color,
yeah,
I would like it more. So I don't know.
And I see where their head's at, because I don't care for sedans, really. To me, on everyday driving, there's nothing that a sedan does that a crossover doesn't really do better.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, yes, a sedan will have better handling because it has a lower center of gravity. How often does that matter?
Yeah.
I mean, so rarely.
I agree.
Most of my time spent in sedans is in the back of them as Ubers. And the whole time I'm like, if this was a crossover, I wouldn't have had to duck my head under this fucking thing to get in, and I'd have more visibility and more room. Like, to me, the sedan for what a lot of buyers want, it doesn't. I'm not trying to project myself onto other buyers. If you want a sedan, get a sedan. But I have a hard time seeing the value in sedans and in a lot of modern roads.
Yeah, I think objectively, the crossover does a lot of things better. And then it also allows you, if you want to take it camping on a light dirt road, you have more ground clearance.
Yeah.
With sedan, you don't have. I mean, it's got a lot of benefits.
And forget camping. Like, our infrastructure is not getting better.
I know, but I try to the city LA sucks, but if you live somewhere else where the roads are smooth, a crossover will still afford you more options in terms of where you can go.
Yeah. But just, nationally, our infrastructure is crumbling. In urban environments, it resembles off-roading more than ever. So, I mean, it's interesting that Toyota's like, no, we're going to save the sedan, which is, really? We need to save the sedan. But, try it. Have a swing.
Yeah, sure.
And they've hedged by having a crossover hatch version as well.
Which is basically a wagon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. When I was building Cayennes with my dad, and I was like, you can get the.
Sounds like you were constructing
Yeah,
them.
when we took that internship at the Cayenne factory. No, when we were speccing out a Cayenne, I showed him the coupe roof. And he was like, well, what's that for? I said,
Great question, Roger.
Great question. I have absolutely no idea. But like 30% of Cayennes sold are like that. And he goes, I thought the point was to fit more and see more. That's the thing. And he goes, yeah, but,
people got to look cool.
The SUV's got to be a sports car now, too.
It's weird.
So, TC says there are people with brand new GT3s on Renlist adding sound deadening to their cars. Did these people buy the wrong car? Should Porsche have differentiated the touring model more from the standard GT3, i.e. softer suspension and a quieter cabin? I think that's a good point. And I think, yes, they should have. I think that the only difference between the touring and the regular car now is the wing or no wing.
Right.
Whereas last generation there was a slightly different suspension, and they did have a little more sound deadening for more usability as a road car. And I agree. I think they could have made it a little softer, and I think they probably have their reasons for why they didn't. I think it's funny that people are buying really lightweight GT3s and then adding weight into them.
That's funny.
It's very
I wonder,
funny.
Depending on how much weight they add. I got to imagine if you're a Porsche, it's so hard. Like, I'm just picturing if they had separated the cars more and the one with the wing was like louder, and the people that drove the touring and reviewed it were like, we wish you had the exhaust note of the the track one. Like, well, you want it loud, but do you want the sound deadening? And we're all a fickle bunch.
Yeah, it's strange that after the success of the previous generation car, they went, okay, let's continue to sell two versions, but really have them be the same thing. Maybe it's a cynical choice. Maybe it's like,
it saves money too.
It does save the money. It's a cost cutting.
Cars.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if they were a little more differentiated in terms of the setup, and I don't know, if you're not going on a track anyway, who cares about the 15 pounds or 20 pounds of sound deadening? Put the fucking stuff back in.
I agree.
Yeah.
I applaud people for just making the car their own. Like, they're like, I love this engine, I love the double wishbone, but it's a little loud and I want it to be a little softer. It's like, great, do that. Aftermarket. You have the money, so go for it.
Yeah, that's also fine too. There's nothing wrong with wanting the car to, if you're putting 20, if you buy a GT3 Touring and use it as a car, you're not going to feel the 20 pounds, but your ears will feel better after a long drive. Like, whatever, fine, do it. You wanted to feel the engine. You wanted that 6-speed gearbox. You wanted a naturally aspirated car. Like, you have all kinds of reasons for wanting to buy that car, and you have all kinds of reasons for wanting to change it. And most of them are probably just fine. Although you could listen to our reviews, and the GTS is actually the perfect street car.
Yeah.
Let's see. Steven Simmons saw the specs on the new Raptor R. Is Ford jumping on the TRX bandwagon, or is this the Raptor they always wanted to make, but Cafe wouldn't allow it in the numbers they produced the regular one? I think probably both of those are true. I don't know what the exact Cafe regulation is on that, but I think that people's only real complaint about the regular Raptor is that it doesn't sound very good. Camisa is the only person who thought it sounded good, and his comparison was it that it sounded like a Nissan GTR, which I would argue is actually not good.
I agree.
And the only, I shat on the TRX for what I believe are a variety of totally legitimate reasons. But the fact is, it sounds like a fucking muscle car. And if you're going to spend that kind of money on a giant truck, that glub, 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 glub V8, it's appealing. I can't argue. It's appealing. And so I think Ford saw an opportunity to use some existing stuff that they had, the GT500 engine or a variant of that, put it in the truck, limit the numbers to where it won't fuck with your Cafe, too much, and we have a new product now.
I wonder if they had to wait for some success in sales of like Mach-E Maverick hybrid, to offset those cafe things, and now they're able to get it in there. Because of course, the engineers probably miss a V8. They had the Coyote, they have all the parts there, and they know what the market wants, but they were like, we can't do it right now. So maybe they were able to offset that a bit.
Yeah, maybe. That's more of like an industry insider question.
Yeah.
But it'll probably be just as wasteful as a TRX. It'll be, it maybe won't be as big, so there's that, but it's going to get just as bad fuel economy.
Right.
And, I hope that it's that's not the trend that we're going. It is just a limited edition special, kind of thing. Giant overpowered trucks is not what we should be striving for right now. But at the same time, I kind of get it. They have the engine, they have the, they've already tooled up the rest of the truck, like the Sport Classic. It's like, here, look at this shit we've got. We could rearrange this in a way that we know works, and
people are going to love it because, like you said, if the giant truck is, let's say, like the Mountain, like the actor, strongman, but if when he spoke he sounded like me, it would be a little surprising.
Like my cat Finn.
Yeah, but you want it to sound like the Mountain. You want it to sound blah, 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 blah. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
And I think it exudes the amount of power.
Yeah, Raptors sound like farty and shitty. It's an effective engine. The thing still goes pretty quick.
It's quicker than the 6.2.
But it sounds shitty.
And it looks cool, and it can do all these amazing Baja things. But people go, yeah, but it doesn't connect. It doesn't turn on the fizz quite enough.
Growl.
Right.
Yeah. My cat Finn is 17 pounds of fucking straight muscle. He's a beast, and he has a kitten meow, and he's never. We always thought when he becomes like a full size cat, he'll lose the kitten meow. Never has. He still has a really high-pitched kitten meow. It's really fucking funny.
Maybe that's why he's so mad all the time.
Even Cricket, who is Cricket's 7 pounds and 1 year old, and Finn is 17 pounds and 3.5 years old. Cricket's meow is lower than Finn's. It's really funny. Prashant, if you were to turbocharge the human body, would you scavenge the exhaust fumes from burps or farts? Farts.
I guess that's
more methane,
exhaust, right?
More methane.
That's a good
highly
point.
combustible.
That's a good point. Now you have meth injection.
You can't put a fucking lighter up to a burp and fucking.
No, that's all mostly carbon dioxide.
Yeah, a fart is it's already flammable. You're good to go.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like nitrous. Okay, hang on.
Pretty much this.
Okay. Andrew N., what modern interpretation of a car would you want to see next from any manufacturer? Not a resto mod or continuation. Oh, like the Countach, Lamborghini Countach thing.
Right.
He recommends a Maserati Merak or Bora using the MC20 platform. Well, he's a little off there. The Merak was a mid-engine car. The Bora is actually a front-engine car, I believe. I'm pretty sure the Maserati Bora is front-engined. I think. Am I fucking that up? Is the Bora front-engine or not? Maybe not. I might be wrong.
Mid-engine.
Mid-engine. Sorry about that. I don't want to give you bad facts. I don't know. Why did I think that was a front-engine fucking car? Oh, you know why? Because the Ghibli. If you pull up a picture of the Ghibli, it looks kind of like that, but with the greenhouse. Well, you're going to get a bunch of modern ones. Look up a 1971. 1970, yeah. So if you go to images, that's a front. So you see, the Ghibli's front. Sorry, I fucked that up. The Bora is the mid-engine one. Yeah, Bora's a good call. That was pretty cool.
Pantera. De Tomaso Pantera.
They have that.
Oh, that's right. They are. But it's electric.
There's the De Tomaso P72 thing, which has a Ford motor, supercharged. And then there's some company did a Lamborghini Huracan or Gallardo into a Pantera-esque shape.
Interesting.
Which it doesn't look that bad, actually.
Okay.
It was kind of neat. Let's see. The problem is I don't really want to see most of them because we've seen what happened with the Countach and it doesn't work. You know,
The hard thing is it's probably never going to be, I don't want to say never. It's very hard to make the new thing as pretty as the old thing because now we have new regulations, new height standards, all this stuff that they have to adhere to, right? So, like I was thinking, the Alfa Romeo, like, you know, this Alfa is one of my favorite cars of all time.
right? The 33 Stradale.
33 Stradale. Like,
yeah.
where did it go?
There it is. Sexy as fuck.
I mean, holy shit. But if they made that now, the hood would be taller, the front end would be taller. Like,
well,
this thing would hit
the
you in the ankle.
4C is supposed to be evocative of that.
And it's too short. It's
I mean,
close.
it's
okay.
not. But if you go element by element,
I getcha.
There is a vibe.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a vibe, and the 4C is a pretty good looking car.
In fact, I think the 8C is more successful. From a styling perspective, the 8C is more successful there.
I love that car.
It looks great. Drives like shit.
Yep,
Looks great.
I know.
I think I don't like the concept of bringing back those because I just don't think the proportions and the stuff that makes those cars work would work as well on modern platforms.
It's like Fuller House, you know?
Yeah. When
It's not gonna
Ferrari
work out.
tries it, they do this sort of throwbacks for customers.
Yeah.
Remember they tried to turn a 458 or something into like a Boxer.
Yeah.
It didn't really work.
Some of those have like, they work from some angles, but
Yeah.
some don't because you're still trying to make something into something else.
I mean, that Stratos thing visually worked from a Ferrari.
Yeah.
The modern Stratos.
That did.
That worked. The Disco Volante that Jeremy Clarkson drove on Top Gear, which was very concept-y and built on an 8C, that worked. I'd like to see if GM did like a Motorama Firebird on a C8. That would be kind of a fun.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be a fun Pebble Beach or SEMA or show car.
Yeah.
But in general, I think it doesn't always work the way you want it to. Shout out, good call on the Bora though. The Bora could be kind of interesting. Anonymity. Thinks we could do a. Given the amount of Porsche buying questions, we probably could recut a best value Porsche models and packages. We
probably could. But the reason I left that is because you did that video, like rating the GT cars.
Yeah,
from like 1 to 6.
It didn't do that well.
And it didn't do very well.
No,
so that's
it
why I was
didn't
like,
do
this is
very
why
well.
we might not do that.
Let's see. Clayton Stinger GTS. I've owned a Kia Stinger for 2 years, and it's made me follow Korean cars more closely. Between Kia, Hyundai, and Genesis, they're making some of the most compelling general consumer vehicles out there. Thoughts on the direction of Korean brands and their place in the market? I think you said it very well. I mean, every time we drive something from them, it's usually very competitive and good. I am truly shocked that we did not see more Genesis G70s.
Yeah.
Because that thing was awesome.
Yes.
That was such a, they still make it. It is such a nice car. Here in Los Angeles, we see a lot of Genesis crossovers. They've really done a good job knocking off the Bentley Bentayga for a third of the price.
I think it's better looking than the Bentayga.
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tiger Woods fucking really gave them a bump. You know, because when it's upside down and crashed, it looks
And
just like a Bentayga. What was that?
Yeah, I mean, their exterior designs are great. I think Genesis in particular are killing it. Kia has just done a good job with a couple of flagship things, and like Hyundai with using, hiring Albert Bierman. Like, they made all these moves. They started making pretty cars, and they made them affordable. And the interior of the Genesis was like,
they did a nice job.
Diamond quilted leather and stuff. Like, it looked way more expensive than it was. And if the quality's there, I think the warranties are like 10-year, 100,000 mile.
I'd like to see what a 5-year-old Genesis looks like.
I agree.
It's because there's initial quality, and then there's, how they really hold up. And I would like to check that out. But the brand new ones that we've driven have all been like, yep,
yeah,
this'll do.
Yeah,
this'll do. The problem that Genesis will have is that some of their designs are not as avant-garde as like the Kia EV6 is better looking, and the Ioniq 5 are both to me more interesting looking than the Genesis electric crossover that's based on the same platform. Like I'd rather, I think, have the Kia or the Hyundai than the Genesis, because they both look cool as fuck. and the Genesis does not look that interesting.
I think you overestimate how many people want their car to look interesting.
I don't know. I see a lot of EV6s and Ioniq 5s.
No, I think there are people like us that want it to look cool and different and leap out, and some people might go, whoa, that's a lot.
Maybe.
And that's why they buy, silver 911s.
Sure, could be. Yeah, could be. But I mean, they are. If you look any major city in America, they're obviously capturing major market share.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Especially as some of the Japanese companies are a little stagnant.
Yeah.
The Korean stuff offers, in many ways, the Japanese reliability, but with a little more cutting edge technology and value. The Japanese always stay kind of a generation behind with their tech.
Yes. Usually because they're perfecting the technology so it's ultra reliable. But that's why they're a little bit behind, and that's okay. But I think the Korean companies, a lot of their designs are far sexier than a lot of the things coming out of Japan.
Yeah, it's a choice. I can't put it. Porsche ice cream. I have that in the fridge at home.
For real?
Yeah,
That's
Porsche did a collab with, I think, a company's called Pretty Cool. And they were some of their PTS colors sound like ice cream flavors. So they made ice cream flavors based on the PTS colors.
Oh, okay.
And I said on my Instagram post that I was going to bring them in. And I am, except that we went filming first. So I wasn't going to put a bunch of ice cream in the trunk to go to the desert.
Yeah,
so
breakfast ice cream.
Next show, I will bring in the ice cream and we will talk about it. And I think you can buy them. I think the company was called Pretty Cool. And I think you can buy them. Oh, limited edition, blah, blah, blah.
What
does
for
that
National
say?
Ice Cream Day.
I don't like that there's fucking days.
I agree. It's called National Advertisement Day, in my opinion.
It's dumb. But I don't know. Maybe the company's called Pretty Cool. Maybe you can get them. We'll taste test them on the next. But there is a frozen berry metallic, which is
tastes like iron and raspberries.
The paint code of frozen berry metallic is M4T, which looks like matte. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm sure it was because of me.
That's why we do things.
Glickenhaus wants to know about Glickenhaus. I was supposed to go drive Glickenhaus cars. The cars weren't ready. They were doing shit with the cars. I don't know.
It'll happen, though.
Eventually, I will go to Connecticut and drive Glickenhaus cars when they have a production car. They had a prototype, but it was really rough. And they were like, you can drive it, but don't show this or don't. And I was like, just when you have one that's representative of what customers get, then I will drive it. Shane just joined the Patreon, 22 years old, wants to know about a Fiat 500 Abarth as a first sports car. The roads are slow and winding, so speed is not a priority. Good choice.
Great.
My only real point against the Abarth was when it was new, it was very expensive. It was $28,000, and it didn't feel like $28,000 worth of car. But if you can get a nice clean one for $12,000 or whatever they go for, much more reasonable, then sure, it's a good way to learn how to drive and
get a pre-purchase
fun.
inspection first.
Mm-hmm.
Do that.
Mm-hmm.
But fun front-wheel drive car. Quick enough, agile enough. You can learn a lot about driving.
Yeah.
You won't go drifting, which is good, so you won't hurt yourself.
Probably.
Just keep in mind that from factory, they came with crazy 160 treadwear tires, which raised their grip and made them appear like they handled amazing, which a lot of it was due to the tire. So when you get this used car, check the tires and see what it's on.
If it has cheap tires,
right,
you're going to have a lot less grip than you thought you would have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good note. We're back tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
The guys from Oil Stain Lab are coming. Interesting company. It's a design-focused company. They have this cool thing they did called the Half 11, which is a real car that they built. It's it looks like a 911 Can-Am car. They also did the Alpha Safari car that Zach drove. They also were heavily involved in the design of the Ken Block Pegasus. The exterior styling of that car. And so we're going to be talking about the weird shit that they do. And I've never met them before. I saw the Half 11 in person at Hypercar Invitational, and I was like, this is a fucking death trap, but it looks crazy.
Yes.
And I'm interested to chat with those guys for a little bit. That's tomorrow, Thursday, the 20th? Thursday the 20th at
21st at
21st is
10 a.m. I think.
at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. 11 a.m. 10 a.m. Pacific time. We'll put it up on the Patreon if you want to watch it live. But that's all for today. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later. Bye.